Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be learning how to use Axios. Axios is a popular based HTTP client that for making HTTP requests. The most common ones probably are to fetch data and to save data, update data and delete data in your database. So let's get started and I'll show you some examples with Axios. So I just have 6 buttons created and we're going to use these buttons to make the requests to the API. The API that I'm using today is just this request response.in. So if you want to practice yourself on your own projects, you can use all these endpoints here, and they have some fake data that can be requested. I just have some 6 buttons created. I'll leave a link in the description to this for the source code, and you can copy the buttons and the styling that I have implemented. So I'll post that in the description. Alright, so to get started then we're just going to import Axios. We're going to install Axios. So we're going to say npm I axios. Okay, so now we're after installing Axios. I have the app running already, so you can just do an npm run start and start your application. So up at the top then we're going to import Axios from Axios. Okay, so the first request we're going to be making then is a GET request. So to do that then, just on my button I have an on click and it's going to call the get data. Same for the other buttons, to post data, update data. So just have my functions set up here, but I haven't anything in them yet. So for the get data then we're going to say, just go inside our function, I'm going to say axios.get, and the first thing we need to put in is the URL where we want to fetch the data from. So the URL that we'll be using for this is going to be to the request response API and API/users. So then we say .then and say response, and we're just simply going to console out the data. Console log I'm just going to change the view to word wrap. Okay, so we save that then. Now if we go back over to our console, we press the get button. Now you see it's after returning the data to us, and we're just after returning the response. So in the response you're going to have your headers and the data, and inside that then is the data from, that's the way this website has the data structured. They have a data and data inside it. So we have the status as a 200, that's a good request, and we have our config and we have our headers. Okay, so that's the get request then. And if you wanted to access the data then, you could say console log response dot data. So we save that, clear that. Now see, we're getting back the data. This is the first page. They have it structured in pages, and inside there they have the data then, and then we have the ID of the user, their email or first name and all that. So to get the data then, for just, if you just want the user's data, we say that data again. Now we have our 6 users. And to make that a bit, just to tidy it up then a small bit, then instead of saying response.data.data, we can actually destructure the data from the response we just want the data. So over here then all we need is console log. It's the data, so we'll save that. Just clear the console there. If we press the get request now you can see we're getting just our users. So if you're making a lot of calls to the same API, you can set the default base URL, and then you can just say axios.defaults.base URL, and we can set that to, we'll just take it from here. This is our base URL. Okay, and now if we take out this part here and we just make the request to ./users, it's going to take the default from line 8. So if we save that now and we press the get button again, we're still getting our response. We're still getting the promise back. Okay, so now for the post data. So inside our post data function, we're going to say axios.post. And we're going to use the base URL again, so we're going to say /users again. And now in a post one, we need to provide the data. So we supply an object in here, and what the post request for this API requires is a name. So we'll just give it a fake name. And the second part of it, what it takes is job. So we'll say job. And we just say junior developer. Okay. So then we're going to do the same again. We're just going to say .then and say response. I'm just going to console log out the response. Okay, so now if we press the post button, you'll see the API automatically creates a time. It gives it an automatic ID. Then we see the job is a junior developer and the name is John Doe. So that would have been a post request. We can also set a config for passing data. And the thing with Axios is as well, you don't have to set the headers. It knows that it's a JSON object, so you don't have to set the headers to application JSON. But you can set your own headers if you want to. We can set a config for the Axios post. So I'm just going to set that. So if we say config and just say the data we want to post. So we're just going to we'll copy what we had down here. Cut this out and paste that there. We'll see data. Okay, and then just say if you wanted to set the headers yourself, you can say headers. And we just say content type. I'm going to set the content type into application /JSON. And then in here we can just pass in our config. Now, so if we save that now, just clear it out, we press our post button again, see we get the same data back, and everything is coming from our config this time. So we have our data there, and our headers is content type application JSON. So that's another way of inserting the data and setting your headers, is to use a config. So we're going to use the update. Now we're going to update some content. Before we do that, we can also set a catch here. And inside the catch, it's going to catch if there's any errors. So if we say response console.log, I'll just say response. So if we save that now, so if we just change our base URL, if we just take the API off it here, delete that, save that now, just clear out this. If we make the post request now, see we get the error, and it's after catching the error. Okay, so we'll move on to the update now. So for the update then, I'll show you how to use, we can use a try catch either as well. So we'll say try catch. To make an update request, we're going to use a push request. So we're just going to say const res is going to be equal to axios, going to be equal to await axios, because I'm using an async function here. So we're going to say await axios.put, and we're going to use the same base URL. But this time we're going to update just a single user, so I'm going to update user 2, and I'm going to update it with a name, let's say Jane Doe this time, and we'll say a job of senior developer. Okay, once that's done then, we'll just console log the data again, console log, and we'll say the response, what we set above, response.data. Then in our catch, if we get an error, we're just going to console log the error. Okay, so let's save that now. So in our update part then, if we click update, okay, everything's after working. And now you can see, yeah, senior developer has been updated and the name is changed to Jane Doe. So we'll just cause an error here now, so we'll just take out the API part again here, delete, save that. Now if we click update, clear the terminal first. Now you can see that the catch part of the try catch is catching the error. So we'll just sit back in our API again, save that. Now it's back working again. So the next part we're going to do then is we're going to delete a user. So for to delete a user then we just say axios.delete. We're going to use the base URL again, and the same as the update then we need a user, so we'll say user 2. We're just going to use a .in. We're just going to console log the response.status this time, because it won't return anything back to the user is deleted. So console log res.status. So we'll save that now. Just clear that terminal. So we'll make the delete request. And now we get back at 204. The 204 status is deleted. So we can also create an Axios instance. And we'll just show you how we can do that as well. So up at the very top then, I'm just going to say const instance. I want to set that to axios.create. Just set an object in here, and we can set the base URL in here also. So we say the base URL. I'm just going to copy that from here. We could set a timeout in here either. I have a timeout. I want to set that to 1 second. And we can also set the headers in here also. So we can say the headers and just say X custom header. Just set it to that, and then we're going to call it in our get our instance data function. So we're just going to say instance, and we want to say that get, and we have our base URL set in our instance. So just going to say /users. And then I'm just going to console log out the data again. So I'm just going to say that then res, and we're going to console it out. So we'll save that now. So now if we click on the instance, now you see we get the request back. We have the data, the page type, and inside here we have our data again. So if I just console log just the response, and clear that, and we'll do that call again. Now you can see inside in our headers, application.json, config, the URL. Just open the network tab, clear that out. Call the instance, and then under our headers, if we scroll down, then you can see our X custom header full bar is after setting our custom header source. Now, so we'll go back to the console. And another good thing with Axios then is you can make multiple requests at the one time. So we just go into our multiple function, and to make multiple requests then we say Promise.all, and we create an array in here, and we'll say axios.get. I'm just going to copy a URL in here. So we're going to be making it to the users, and we want to get page 2. And then I'm just going to make a post one as well. So we're going to say axios.post. I'm just going to make that to users. And then we're going to put in our config that we had above. Or you could type it in again if you wanted. Another object. And then we're just going to console log out the response. Zero response. Console.log. And now to console log them out, we're going to say response, and we're going to get the first array. So we say response 0. And then we're going to console log out the second response. So we say 1. So if we save that now, just clear this console, and now if we press the multiple, you see we get back our 2 responses. We have the status 200, which was get, and we have the status 201, which was the post. So if we go into data, we can see name John Doe, junior developer. So if we go up to our config file, config, there is John Doe, junior developer. And close that, and our get request was to page 2, and there's our array of users in page 2. So that's I like that feature in Axios, making 2 requests at once. So one other thing we can do now with Axios is set a default headers. And a good example of this might be if you're sending a JSON web token to the backend for authentication. We can just set it once, and we don't have to add it to every Axios request we're making. So to do that, up at the top here, I'm just going to say axios.defaults.headers.common. And inside square brackets then, we just put in what we want to call it. So I'm just going to say authorization, and then we're going to set that equal to, I'll just set it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you would have a function getting your token from your local storage or something like that. So we want to set that to that. Now, I'll just open the console again. Go to the network tab. Now, you see, we make our post request. And on the users then, if we scroll down, we find headers. Now, there's our authorization header that we've input, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we make a get request, we'll click on the get request, we'll scroll down. There it is again. So it's after applying that default header to every one of the requests we make, even the multiple one. If we click on the multiple one, we just go to one of them, scroll down here, find it. There it is again. So that's handy. Saves you setting up the same authorization token for every request you're going to make. Thanks very much for watching this video. I appreciate your time to watch my videos, and I hope you've learned something from it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and you'll be notified every time that I post new content. Thanks very much for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next.